Welcome to the Unlock Your Culture webcast, a monthly discussion about preserving traditional fire service culture in the modern setting. With your hosts, Sean Duffy, Pablo Jenner, John Hayowyk, and Mark Alone. We hope you enjoy the show. Oh, what a lackluster beginning.
That was
to our episode 15.
Wah, wah.
Welcome back to the Unlock Your Culture webcast.
Thank you.
Mark Alone and our very own John Hayowyk here this evening. We may be graced with our other co-host, depending on how their fire and family schedule works out. So it's been a minute. We're trying to get back in the groove. Our last episode was in January. A little traveling, a little teaching since then, John.
A little bit, yeah. We've been it's been a busy winter into early spring. We got to hang out.
Busy everything.
Well,
period.
We got to hang out. We got to hang out down at North Florida Fire Expo. We had we had Caleb, our lucky winner. He came down with him and his wife and his son, and dude, he was the big winner. He walked away with a ton of stuff from that place.
Yeah, you couldn't have planned a better first fire conference for somebody. Like, even if he was on the fence, which he wasn't, after his experience in North Florida, he'd been out there like starting his own conference and telling everybody the joys of external training. You just like sending it full send.
So Caleb, but what was your biggest takeaway? Not to put you on the spot real quick, but we know what you took away from physically from the conference, but what was your biggest takeaway?
I really think just the brotherhood, and the relationship that we share with one another was just, really strengthened that, just especially, being in a different part of the country. And Southern hospitality is for real. And, everyone was super nice and just willing to share experiences and different outlooks and perspectives on, how to firefight. And I enjoyed the heck out of it. It was a really unique experience, thanks to you guys. And so,
all right, we're more than happy to have you and come down, especially for being your first conference. You made some connects. You did what? The second day you did the saw class with Julio Ramos, who is I call him the saw guru. If anything saws, and that's Julio. He's the man. What was the day before? What'd you guys do?
What was that?
What did you do the day before your first hot class?
Oh, that was first due.
Okay.
Yeah, the Jason Painter and Jay Hurley and all those guys from North Georgia, man. It's a stand-up crowd right there.
No, that's a great little conference, and I was fortunate Mark and I were fortunate to be down there and present. You did a lecture series. We did our Through the Lock. We helped out the guys from day one from East Coast Fire Tactics. We did a little Through the Lock thing, and then we did our all day Through the Lock class on day two. But it was great because I was able to hang out down in Florida for almost like 3 weeks. We went down, hung out with Michelle and Mike, who were on here down at the Orlando Fire Conference, which was just listen, if there's another conference to go to, wait for it in, I guess, October. That's when they put out the registration, and those hot classes sell out quick. It's one of the best conferences, I'm going to say, one of the smaller best conferences, but that thing's growing. You have some amazing instructors down there. Michelle is down there doing the stuff with the Florida Collaborative on mental health. Amy actually came down, my wife, and hung out with Michelle, and she did a little talking with the clinicians and stuff. But it's great to get down there and see everybody. And spent a good 2 weeks down there. Then went from Orlando, hung out with my son, who's down in Largo, Florida, hung out for 2 days, and drove up with a good brother of ours, Jason Liska, who was another instructor.
The Can Man.
Yeah. What the heck is he tonight? The Can Man.
I don't know,
We
man.
could have cross-reference podcasts or something.
I got to get him. I got to get him
We got to get on
like
him.
a hard send to get together because we always talk about it and it never happens. So
Exactly. So drove up with Jason and did our teaching and all that other good stuff. But that was so refreshing. I think I got back the the first week of March, and that sort of solidified a lot of things for me. But I guess that's where we're going, right?
Yeah.
You forgot
What are we
the
calling this?
part of that. You
Yeah,
got home and you made it out alive, buddy. You're a quitter, and we love it. We love it.
Quitter.
So,
Yeah,
so what
I'm-
Michelle is referencing is that our very own co-host turned guest tonight because it's easier to peg down somebody who's already got to be on the show. John has worked his last tour on the job here, so congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Round of applause. Big thing, man. So I figured what a great topic to talk about that I think we 100% leave out of every, like, from recruit to every class you take throughout your career. We just kind of, it's like the other mental health, right? It's just out there. We don't really talk about it. And then one day, hey, you're not on the job anymore. So let's start it off, John. How are we going to lead up to this?
I really don't know how to lead up to it, but I just want to thank Mike and Michelle. They sent cookies to the firehouse. So this box shows up from FedEx and it's addressed to me, and the guys get it. And I'm like, all right, it's unidentified. I'm like, is it ticking?
Glitter bomb.
What are we doing? So we slice it open and open it like this because I have
It's a
no idea where
hazmat
it's coming
package.
from. Exactly. But no, the cookies were great, and I really appreciate it. So my last day of work was the 31st of March. I was very fortunate with that. But again, leading up to that, and Mike's been there. Michael Laura was next city over as a deputy. So it's sort of a thing where you got to figure out if it's the right time and figure out if the timing's right. And for me, the timing was right. We talked about this. I was all last year, I was dealing with issues with my stomach and had surgery back in October and finally got back to work in early December. And I'm just still recovering. So some of my health concerns, I needed to look at that. I did see some things coming up for me that we've been working on. We, meaning Amy, my wife, and I, for the past couple of years, we created the training company, and that's been sort of working out. I was fortunate enough to go down and make some really good connections and networking, and hung out with some really good friends, and things just look really good. And talked with a couple of friends that have already retired, and some guys that are retiring soon enough. And I needed to figure out what my next chapter was going to be and my next step. And it was down in Pensacola, I guess, back in February, where I came up with, a class idea. But Amy and I were talking about this on changing priorities when I was sick in the hospital, recovering from surgery in October. And we came up with the priorities of health, family, and fire. And if you look at, and I'm going to steal this from the Kill the Flashover stuff, the three-legged bar stool. If you got a three-legged bar stool and the legs aren't even, it's wobbly. If one of those three are missing, there's a problem. The stool is going to fall over. So for me, my health, I needed to, and I'm still needing to, I'm working on it, get to where I want to be, so I can be the best for my family, in turn being the best for the fire service. And speaking with some of my mentors and some of my peer council guys, Chief Andy Starnes, Chief Steve Przebrowski, talking with those guys. And again, they've said, listen, you're retiring from one, but you're not leaving the fire service. And even Chief Laura, talking with him, said the same thing. You're always going to have it in your heart. You might be retiring from one department, but you're not leaving the service. And I'm not. I love the fire service too much. I'm too passionate about it. And I won't apologize for my passion. I enjoy and love what I do for the fire service. the toughest decision for me was the hardest part of coming up with the idea of when to retire was separating from my crew and my tour. I got on that tour about 2 years. And we went through a lot. As a new chief, it's tough, and I had to find my way, and and everything I did for the tour was for the tour and for the betterment. So the one thing I always did was I kept my integrity. I always kept my word, and that built the trust and stuff like that. And our guys did some amazing work. If anybody was following it, and we caught some serious fires from prior to Christmas, all the way through January into the beginning of February. And my guys are rock stars. Amazing, just short of amazing. We had an 11 alarm fire in a chemical warehouse with an exposure that was 15 feet away that had close to 50 tons of powder chlorine. And Mother Nature was on our side. We had a good wind coming from the north, coming from the A to the C, and it kept a lot of the heat of the way. But our guys dug in. We had lines set up. We had aerial master streams, deck guns, portable deck guns dropped down on the ground, blitz fires, and we kept that fire from getting into that building and making it. They did an amazing job. This is an 11 alarm job, and the success was a team effort. And I was just blown back by what they did and how we got it accomplished.
Like how you say serious fires, not like major fires, once in a career fires, but you went to like 30 bells in a matter of 2 weeks, like it was no big deal. So, I love your humility in all this.
It's, it's what we do. It's part of the job. And again, I'm not downplaying it. What we ride with, and so we're in the Northeast, we're riding with a minimum driver, officer, and one. There's departments just next door and across the river from us in New York that are riding with almost double our crew size. And for a driver, officer, and one crew, and showing up with on a shift probably about 19 or 20 guys and getting what we get done, they do a heck of a job. And for the city that we have a really impoverished city that is highly densely populated, 3.2 square miles with about 100,000 people. We're stacked and backed. I've said it before. In any of my classes that I teach, we talk about that. Every 1 and 2 family home is a multifamily dwelling. There's people in the attics, people in the basements. So we had that on towards the end of January. We had a 3-story ordinary on Main Avenue. We had a first floor apartment light off. The guy left the door open to his apartment after trying to put it out. So it was a delay in alarm. Charged the open interior stairs. We had people pouring out of the building, dumping out of the fire escapes. And then upon arrival, we have a report of a child missing on Division 2. And then when we were speaking with people evacuating, we had a report of an elderly woman on 3 that was reported missing. And we put the companies in the building. First Due Engine Company, no, it was textbook. First Due Engine Company guys stretch the line, put the line between the fire and life. So in that apartment, keeping it into the first floor apartment, which was backed up right next to the stairs, and we put crews in for doing primary searches. The child on 2 never panned out to be anything, but there was an elderly woman that was actually at the top of the bulkhead door to the roof. That we had our truck company lieutenant heard her crying and cough, made a grab and brought her down all the way down and out. She went to the hospital and made a complete recovery. So amazing stuff like that. I'm so proud of the guys that I've worked with, and the company officers who follow my lead, and the guys follow their lead. And that's because of the trust that is built. And it's tough to build trust because it's so easy to lose. It only takes one thing to screw it up. But again, if you're true to yourself and you're true to your word and you're true to your guys, it sort of helps.
All right. So
I have
Tell
a
me
question.
about. Oh, we have questions from the audience.
We have the peanut gallery. What are you talking about?
No, I'm being serious for a
On a
moment.
serious note, okay,
I'm
Michelle.
not going to make fun of the way you say cough or saw, right? We're not going to judge for that. In all seriousness, what is the biggest takeaway from your career? Like for the, youngins that are coming on and people that are even, mid career, what is your biggest advice, your biggest takeaway that you wish you had known years ago?
Biggest takeaway. That's, you know what? Training's always key. And I knew about that from the beginning. My father was started out as a volunteer fireman. And I followed his footsteps when I turned 18 and joined as the volunteer. And I was blessed enough to get hired shortly after in my mid-20s. So training brings you to so many other different places, because you can train within your own department, but then you got to branch out. And I tell my younger guys, you got to get outside those 3.2 square miles. And that's my city, and get out of state of New Jersey, get to conferences, go speak with other people. Networking is huge. So training and networking go hand in hand. I was so proud that we had 3 of our younger guys from my tour. They actually came down to the North Florida Fire Expo. They were doing hands-on training. They were sitting in the lectures. That is what's fulfilling for me, because I see these guys come down and they're hearing what I'm saying. And, when I talk to them afterwards, I'm like, what'd you think? Like, it's just awesome. We can't wait to go back. So I've got one of our guys is going to Water on Fire in Pensacola in August. And I think 2 or 3 of them are trying to get to H-Rock for Chief Isaacson's last H-Rock class in December. So just watching them, and I put it out to them it was interesting, because when I got back, I sort of made that determination that I was probably going to retire. And I was talking with the guys like late one night. We're like 11 o'clock, almost 12 o'clock at night. And we're sitting in my office, just BSing. And I challenged them. I'm like, I need each one of you to find somebody else to bring to another conference for next year. One of the things, go ahead.
I was just saying, it's just a good point, man. And, I hearing it from somebody that's now, you're off the job, right? Like, that's, of all the things you saw in 30 years, it's training comes to mind. And I think, most of us that are, at that back half of our career would tell you that we all got into training, like really training, not fire academy. And it's not knocking the fire academy, but not the pro board IFSAT classes, but actually learning how to do the trade way too late in our careers. And I would implore anybody that is a company officer or above to try to do what you're doing with these young firefighters and get them involved earlier in their career. I would implore anybody that's a training chief or a fire chief to stop sending the usual suspects to everything. Send the guys that can't afford to go on their own. Send the guys that maybe, that would get more longevity out of it from the department time, because guys like me and you will find a way, right? I've taken plenty of vacation time. I've used my own money to go to training, but I can afford it more than the guy who's on his first 2 years, right? That's trying to put $5 a gallon gas in his car and some groceries on the tables. But it seems to me like we always send the older guys, and I understand you have to send people that are come back and share it, right? But I think you got to split it up a little bit. Send an older guy and send a younger guy with them, right? Let them bond a little bit. Let them see it 2 different perspectives when it comes back. But I've tried to do that with my classes and it didn't really pan out, but I wish there was more stuff aimed at the younger crowd to bring them to these things, that everything wasn't, fire chief, 101 and, culture this, no offense to us. Right. But like, where's the stuff to attract the younger guys? And, where's
You need the sexy
classes
stuff.
Yeah,
And,
but that is
truthfully,
sexy. Though.
the
Being new
North
is
Florida.
sexy.
And I can't go to every conference,
I know.
Time.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I'm trying to bring sexy back also. I'm working out 5
my
days a week
goodness.
now, so it's bad news. But so one of the cool things that my company did, so Beyond the Basics training, Amy and I were at Command Officers Boot Camp with Chief Isaacson that put on for the past couple of years. And I got lucky enough to buy the CFT 100, where I bought 5 classes, and I was able to sponsor. So far, I've sponsored 3 different people to go to 3 different conferences. So I'm sponsoring one of my young guys to go to Water on Fire. And I told the other guys I'm going to sponsor one of them, and they can split the cost to go to H-Rock. You know, if they want to get somebody else. I said, but again, you got to jump in early and get the reduced rate when it first comes out. But you got to get out to these classes. And again, Chief Isaacson's got a great thing going on. And come next January, he's doing a big 5-day conference, which I'm grateful to be part of. I don't know what part of it is, but I'm grateful to be part of it. Probably I'm going to be presenting. Hopefully, I'm definitely going to be presenting, he said. So we're going to have that. I'm looking forward to it. But again, sitting down and talking with these guys, it's important. And the South, I think the Southern fire departments get it better than some of the Northeast ones, because we don't have money set aside for training. Everything's on our own dime. At least on the career side, nobody's.
It depends.
Yeah,
it depends. That well, I'll tell you what the difference. And I had to learn
Okay.
this from the West Coast guys is that we're not unionized in the South to the point we have collective bargaining, so we're kind of free to go and do what we want to do, right? And so training time from department to department differs. Some people just say you guys have somebody cover your shift, it's fine. So you're not really getting it covered. You're doing a trade.
you're gonna
Some
swap. Yep.
people, yeah, some people have time put aside. Some people will say, hey, if it directly impacts your position, yeah, we'll send you for it. If we got the money, we'll send it. But what I learned out West is that a lot of those union contracts actually prevent people from going on duty. You have to be off duty. It has to be through the union. You can't go on your own. You can't pay your own way. I'd never heard of this before.
That's crazy.
And so it's so
Wow, I never knew that until you said that.
I've heard this from some guys out in California that's literally like, if the union doesn't sign off on it, like you just can't go. It's weird. But I think, having grown up in the Northeast, the other thing is that the departments in the Northeast are so much older and set in their ways, and they usually have pretty robust
tougher
training
culture.
programs. Yeah, but there's usually a pretty big training program, whether it's good or not is irrelevant, but in-house or regional or something to where the training gets done. And I think what I see in the South is just that so many of our departments are newer in terms of the fire service, right? Like the South is growing a lot right now. And so a lot of what you see with the big county departments down here were 30, 40 volunteer departments, 20, 30 years ago. And so it just hasn't really caught up yet, which is a huge benefit for training. And let's be honest, it's also cheaper to house people, right? To rent sites and stuff, because the cost of living is cheaper down here. So I don't know if it's the culture of the departments as much as it is the guys saying like, hey, we can't afford to fly to New York for this class, so let's just put on our own thing. And I'm blessed down here that there are so many things in my area that are within 4, 5, 6 hours. It's not a plane ride for me, right? It's a day trip. So put in the car and go. But
that's it. There's not as many things up in the Northeast. Where EJ and I have talked about this a lot. I just sort of stepped into a new position within our Fools organization. I stepped into the presidency. So we're trying to battle back from COVID and get you're going to do a membership drive for the Revolutionary Fools. And we're going to try and team up with the Jersey Fools and the What Exit Fools. So the 3 Jersey conglomerates get together, the chapters, to try and work together. And that's one of the things that I'm looking to try and do. But we're going to try and bring back some conferences, do some one-day stuff. But again, there's not really much in the Northeast. I know Harrisburg was doing some stuff, right, EJ?
Mhm.
They had was it
Art of Firemanship days.
Yep,
Art of
that was it.
Firemanship and Making the Stretch, which were
That's right.
phenomenal, unheard of 3-day conferences and some pretty, decent names and some solid training. I mean, I was hitting both of them for at least 2 years, probably the best training I've ever had.
And
Got
COVID
shut
got
down
those,
with
is that
COVID,
right?
and still has not rebounded yet, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing up there too is just that, you still got volunteer departments that won't run with their neighbor, right? They'll call 4 and 5 districts over for aid. And it's just,
I think it's getting better. I think in Jersey, actually, with post 9/11, a lot of stuff changed because you're setting up your run cards and stuff like that. I'm not going to say that everywhere is perfect, but yeah, there things got ironed out about, contiguous towns and stuff like, and your mutual aid, and I can't say enough about my mutual aid. Again, once I go past my second alarm, everything is volunteer response into our city. So that 11 alarm fire, I had a ton of volunteer departments that busted their butts. We actually had two sites. So the B side of that building, we had four aerial master streams going, plus another 2 deck guns and two blitz fires. And then on the highway, on the D side, we had 4 aerials going with another 8 engines doing relay pumping. And we had probably about 8 to 12 engines on the Bravo side, feeding those other 4 and the multiversals and everything else. So it was crazy. But again, the way we organized it, I did a podcast with Steve from 5 Alarm Task Force, and with my captain, Jimmy. Jimmy was amazing. He was my water supply officer. And I told him a couple times, he told me what he needed. I said, make it happen. And that's the trust that you got to build within your tours, whether it's officer to officer or chief to officer. You've got to trust your guys to get it done and let them run with it. And that is built over smaller incidents. It doesn't happen at the biggest incident, because hopefully everything's going to gel together. But those smaller fires that you have, your bread and butter jobs, your ones that are, I'll call them a curveball. I use a lot of baseball analogies with our guys. We never really had a straight pitch down the plate. We were catching stuff that was just odd, and our guys always adapted and overcame and handled it. So the fire right after, which is like 2 shifts after the warehouse fire, we caught another fire in a heavy timber facility, 1-story sawtooth roof. We had roofers up there, but it was a 200 foot building, and it was a 10-lane stretch both ways. It was right in the middle. So we had interior lines and exterior lines going, and we got it. Kept it to the 1 set of bays of windows and the roof and the one unit. Just amazing stuff that our guys did. And again, that's by building building trust and working together and understanding what you're going to do.
So let me ask you, what's the last tour like? That's, what's your last tour like, man?
My last tour was awesome. I did something that no other battalion has done that I can remember.
You called out?
No, I called out sick. No, I didn't.
Michael,
No.
what? Put a fire out?
No, no
Oh,
fire. I was actually hoping for it. So
On the first alarm.
oh, come on. I was asking for a can job. Listen, I'm
All
like,
right,
hey,
it's been a great episode. Everybody.
We're asking for what job? My goodness.
can job. That's why we want a can job, lady.
Job.
Can job. Water can. Listen, from the people in the South, Michelle's cracking herself up. CAN. Almost like a conditions, actions, and needs report, a CAN report. No, it's a CAN job. So, but my last shift, we already promoted a battalion. So he was riding as a safety, and I told him, I said, listen, you ride as the battalion today. And I rode the day on the downtown tiller, and the afternoon, the morning on the downtown tiller, and the afternoon on the uptown. So it was pretty cool. We got a little busy, so we went on a couple runs, nothing major, but I was packed up inside doing primaries and all that other cool stuff, looking for and investigating and stuff. But it was good. It was fun to be out. They did some training, so I was hanging out with the engine companies because we were doing a multi-unit drill. But it was fun. I got to hang out, and then I went back into the car in the evening, and we had dinner, and that was pretty much it. It was a decent night. And rode off into the sunset in the morning. It was nice. They did the chief of the department came up, and the command staff, and they put they put tones out, and they thanked me for my service. Dispatch put it over the radio. So it was pretty cool. The tough part was taking the stuff out of my locker and walking into my car. So I was like a little
Weird.
emotional about that. I'm like, this is just odd. You know, I took a picture of my locker with my stuff in it and then just started taking the stuff out and bringing it out to my car. So
I just want to set something straight for the record here, though. They took you out of the buggy and there was no extra alarm fires. That's what we're saying here, because you got promoted and everything in the world burned, and now you get out of the buggy and
So I'm gonna tell you this. The guy's last work day, so they work tomorrow. So 3 days ago, so their last work day, having coffee. Amy goes, yes, coffee, Michelle. Amy goes, Sake's got a job. I said, stop. So it's my tour, or my old tour. So I start listening to it and scanning, and I'm listening, and I'm just smiling ear to ear. They got a acting officer on the downtown ladder, and it's a really sharp kid. I worked with his uncle, who was an amazing guy, taught me so much. He was a senior man of the department, and I was a new lieutenant, and he taught me just so much. And just listening to him on the roof, they were cutting. It was a 3-story ordinary residential over commercial. It was a top floor fire, and they made sure they kept it out of the cock loft. Nice first due line, got in and knocked it out. But it was great listening to it. I was like a proud parent, you know, just listening to that. And I'm like, all right, good job. And I'm like, good report. And just listening. And I guess the tradition of fires on my tour will continue. That's good. And these guys are aces. They know their job. They do it well. The officers continually train. The downtown crew and the uptown crew, these guys they'll do their normal mandatory training, but they're out there doing 2 or 3 other drills throughout the 24-hour shift. They're doing stuff on their own, which as an officer, that's amazing. And as a chief, it makes me giddy to see that. I come down and they're pulling something out. I'm like, hey guys, what are you working on? Oh, we're doing this, chief. We saw this on a video. We want to see how it works. And the officers are there and letting the firefighters run it and explain it. So that mentorship of the senior guy or the officer letting the more junior firefighter that has some time on the job teaching the younger guys it's just awesome to see. And the progression of training is just huge. And again, going back to that, the biggest thing for me in my career was training. Training didn't let me down. Going back to the 12 alarm, 11 alarm fire, whatever it was. You know, Amy, my wife, was listening to it, and she really doesn't listen to many of the fires. And she goes, you know what? It sounded like what we were studying for the battalion chief's test, because it sounded like one of those crazy scenarios, and you just kept rattling stuff off and rattling it off, and it worked. And again, how do you prep for an 11 alarm or a 12 alarm fire? You handle smaller fires and build a trust in your companies. And that's how it worked for me. And that was the success. And I'm so proud. Again, I'm proud of my guys.
So you bring up a good point here. I got to go to a fire academy graduation the other day, and they had a guy who was retiring, you know, and they took the time to recognize him while he was there, which is pretty cool. This guy had been on, I think, longer than I've been alive with the same fire department. So, didn't look like it, right? But he had like 30 or 35 years from his volunteer time up to his paid time. And so a couple of the guys, we were sitting there talking. So I'm going to throw this out there. I hope somebody that has way more influence than I have and is in a much higher position in their department than I am uses this someday. But I said, man, if I'm ever a fire chief and somebody's last day, right, it's their last day, they're going citywide. I'll put an extra company on. I don't care. They have an open, they're on the air. They go to whatever they want to. I don't care where it is in the district, the A district. It's your final tour. You ride out. I don't care what you want to do. You have the free pass. So I don't know why we don't do stuff like that. You know, somebody gives their entire life to these jurisdictions, right? Or a good portion of it. Man, that last day should be special. It's got to be more than some cake with an inside joke on it. But they want to work, right? It's their last day to work. So I thought that was a cool idea. All right, so I'm gonna reverse it on you. What was your first day with no tour like? Your first, right? You go on your days off. You're supposed to be back to work, but you're retired. What do you do?
So it was a Monday, Friday for us for that week, and Monday was just a Monday. I probably slept the best that I have in a long time. So I don't know if it was like, and again, I'm going to throw this to Mike. When I know Amy and Michelle and Mike and I have talked about this, but my shift, obviously we do a 24/72, which is great, but I start working for that next shift probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon the day before. I'm looking at the weather. I'm looking at my manpower. I'm building my roster. Checking on people that may be sick, that may be calling available, just as, and I was able to build a rapport that, hey, my guys know if you're sick, you're sick. If you're hurt, you're hurt. You're 95% and you can make it, cool. But if you're less than that and you're sick, don't come in. Don't come in. Why get other people sick? If you're hurt, don't come in. You're gonna get yourself hurt worse, or possibly somebody else. We don't know where we're gonna be at that job. So my day started early. I love the noisemakers as you guys are blowing them.
It's funnier
distracting me.
because they're muted, so it's
Yes,
just
can't
this
even hear
weird
it.
thing with no noise, which makes it better. So I ask you because I always have like this. I'll be honest with you. The reason I wanted to talk about this stuff tonight is because the idea of retirement. I never knew anybody that retired until probably like the past 2 years. My circle has grown to people that are much more senior than I, and like so this is becoming a theme. Like people that I know in the fire service that do a lot of for the fire service are retiring, and I'm like, man, that scares the shit out of me. Like I'm terrified.
It is scary because, so I was down in Pensacola, and I was in between classes because I was helping out at the his fire CFT fire school, and I just got a chance to. It was during lunch. I got to walk on the beach, and something hit me, and Amy and I were talking, and I'm like, what is my identity? What identifies me? And if I retire, do I lose my identity or I lose my title? I got no problem with that, or my title in the department, but I don't lose my identity. And what defines me? Well, I define me, and what I've done over my career defines me, and what will continue to do as a retired guy. Again, I'm semi-retired because I'm always going to be doing something. I can't sit around. I got like, no offense to anybody that's got ADHD, but I can't sit still. So I'm just bouncing around. And I was the busiest this past week than I've been in a long time. But I was really concerned about what my identification, what do I identify as? And again, in having conversations, again, I was able to meet up with Chief Starnes in Charlotte when I was flying back home. And we talked at the gate, and I was talking with him, and he's like, listen, he goes, you're never going to leave the fire service. You may leave a department or retire from a department, but you're not going to leave the fire service. And that's resonated with me. I love my department. I bleed red, gray, and black. And I'd do anything for any of those guys. And I've done that over my 20 some years, but it's the right time for me to go. I got to work again. We talked about health, family, and fire. I got to take care of my health, get back to where I want to be at 100%, and then build the family back up. I've been gone for a long time. With our schedules, we miss a ton of stuff, and you try and take off. I wasn't one of the senior guys. So the senior guys grabbed prime picks. So I was missing sports and stuff like that. So that's something cool for me. And I want to relax. I want to travel a little bit. And, I want to get down to Florida a little bit more, come down and see the people down closer to Miami, Plantation, whatever.
That was the right accent, I think, for that one.
Something like that. What's your nickname?
We're not even going to go there right now. That'll be for later. So let me ask you something on a serious note, though. And this is,
Go ahead.
I think this is something the fire service as a whole has kind of struggle with, because as pensions become less of a thing in the private sector, right? The public sector, obviously ours are still there, but they keep getting stretched out and worth kind of, lesser percentage, I guess, over time. And it's funny you bring that up. I've had so many conversations with people that, just about people that either they stay too long, right? Or like they want to stay, but their bodies are hurt or they're injured, right? Or it's just a long time. So, I mean, you look at somebody that gets in this job when they're 18 years old, right? 20 years is 38. This is not sitting at a desk for 20 years or 25 years. This is out there like beating the shit out of yourself for 25 years with the sleep, the physicality, I mean, it depends where you work, right? It can be taxing. It can, some places obviously worse than others, but I think it's really hard for people to even retire at this point. But you look at how long you have to stay most places now, and you're right, you are going to miss that stuff. Whereas if we had retirement plans, and hell, it's something you can't cash in on them, right? To your, retirement age. It's crazy to me the differences between like Europe and here as far as people look at like work and vacation and retirement and years and all that. So, but I don't think that's something you think about.
I'm looking for a quote that I found on my last day. There was a meme that was put out about retirement, the average age. Oh, here it is. It says retirement age is 67. Life expectancy is 78. Work for 50 years to maybe enjoy 11. With the question mark. It says start enjoying life now. No one is guaranteed tomorrow. And that popped up on one of my feeds on social media. And that's sort of, I got a couple of them earlier and saw that. And as Amy said, she goes, the universe is yelling at you. Do the right thing. You've done so much in your career. And I'm like, you're right. I said, but I've got more to go. She goes, that's why we built the company. That's why you're going to continue to influence the fire service. You just don't have to beat your body up mentally and physically about that. And again, for me, throughout the years, I've messed up my knees, luckily not on the job injuries, but I tore my ACL. It's been weakened. I weakened my ACL. My shoulders are messed up. I got I'm banged up in my neck. I got not fusions, but I've got herniations in my neck and my other parts of my spine. We beat the crap out of our bodies, and then we pay a price. With COVID and everything else, I got some longer lasting effects from COVID that are potentially from which caused the inflammation of my stomach and having the issues with my gut, and which put me in the hospital for surgery this past October. And so it's just been as a young kid, you beat your body up, not thinking about what the long-term effects are going to be. And then as you get a little bit older, you start feeling some of those long-term effects. And with Michelle talking about the mental health aspect side of it, and we've had her on the show, it's some of those things that you deal with, whether it's the trauma of what you see, or it's the moral injury stuff that comes across. And sometimes that stress is worse than a physical injury because it weighs on you even more. And I think we've all come from and seen that in our careers, whether volunteer or career. I'm not going to put anybody on the bus, but again, I've seen it on both the volunteer side and the career side. I've done both. And I've seen the moral injury aspect of it, where it disheartens people to the point where if they're volunteers, I quit, I'm done, I walk out. Or to the career side where they're just tired of, hi babe, hi. Come on in. Hold on a second. I'm gonna come off speaker real quick. Amy just showed up. She's been getting things done around the house.
Hi. Oh yeah,
Hey,
just
Amy.
getting things done around the
Hold
house.
on. Let me put us on.
Yeah, let me hear the noisemakers.
Yeah, noisemaker. Oh yeah. Hold on, Michelle. Noisemakers. Hold on.
What did you do?
What did I do? I'm just trying to get the speakers to. Nope, that's not it.
Yes, it is. I heard it. Thank you. I love them. I knew they were doing this.
They're deflated.
Let me do that so much. Thank you so much,
What
guys.
did I get for being Jewish and buying the cheapest one on the shelf, you know?
Oh my God.
I mean, that's
HR
cool.
will be calling tomorrow.
Yeah, our next episode will be HR in the fire station.
What we can and cannot say, and that's why the chief walks out of the room quickly. You didn't hear that.
Everything's fine. It's fine.
But
The
but
webcast
yeah,
will not be called You Can't Say That.
you really can't say that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We were joking though. But getting back to what I was saying, it's
No, hang on. EJ, that's totally right. You've never seen a headstone with those words. Yeah. Yeah.
if only I had more time. You're right, at work. So
Not to derail your talking, but
no, but
There's no derailing this train. It's derailed to begin
off.
with, so we're kind of used to that.
like support staff world, like the dog had to go out and I'm trying to cook for the week and I had homework help and our youngest is being a noodlehead tonight. So, what are you gonna do?
Don was talking about getting y'all another dog, though. So he's pretty.
Allegedly we have to wait a year. So
Lou and Louise, exactly.
oh my god, I'm sorry, I can't
Negative.
have a female dog.
No, negative.
Oh, Duffy's on. Wow, we got another host at all this.
No way.
On the phone. Yep. Where is he?
I think
He's logging in.
He's at work, right?
Yeah, he's always at work because he travels. There he is.
Wait, is he on the plane? Duffy, you're muted.
Hello.
He kind of looks like he's in 8 Mile tonight. I
What's
can't
up?
He is. Good old Eminem
What
right
up?
there. Is it cold?
What I miss?
lie.
I don't know. All right,
The
a lot.
usual.
Everything's fine.
Uh,
All good.
We were
The train's
talking about
derailed.
retirement and moral injuries and real injuries.
We were talking about the toll the job takes on you.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
And just physically your body gets beat up. The lack of sleep is huge. One of the things that, again, I'm gonna cross-reference the podcast that Michelle does, and they brought Michelle, pop on real quick.
It's not a podcast, it's
It's
Zoom.
Michelle, what's the true name of your monthly podcast?
We
The
do the
collaborative.
firefighter, first responder, family, and caregiver connections once a month.
So with that, she brought on a couple that does sleep therapy. That was huge for me because that helped me to get back into a better sleep pattern, like middle of the night stuff. You come back from a run, I was listening to the meditations and stuff, and it really helped. Again, it's just something that our sleep is totally interrupted and deprived, and then we crash for come home if you can. Crash if you're not working a side job, or if you're like Sean and hopping on a plane going someplace, right? Where are we
Sean
off to
doesn't
next?
sleep. He doesn't sleep.
Well, I just got back from Ohio yesterday. I'm on
We
duty
know that.
now. And then I go back to Ohio on the 22nd and then to FDIC. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
When I grow up, I want to be Sean.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I just wanted Sky Miles. I could go like around the world and back twice with his Sky Miles.
You probably could. Yeah. Yeah, no. You don't want to be me. It's a lot of travel. Like you said, it takes a toll on you, like not just personally, but for the family too. I've missed a lot of events. Like I missed my daughter's first soccer game yesterday because I was out, teaching and stuff. So it's a lot, and I actually had heart trouble from these tones going off all the time. I had to go see a cardiologist for it and stuff because I would just get like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, random chest pains, and talk to the doctor about it. And that's what he thought too. He's just like, it's just your body's natural response. You're usually getting woken up around that time, like really loud. And so yeah, it's important to take care of yourself mentally and physically. That's for sure.
And that's just part of the job. And I think this our webcast, podcast, whatever we call it, is definitely cathartic. It's helped me this past year or two. And I see EJ with his head nodding up and down. Sometimes we don't want to share it because we with our friends and people like that, because we have our own little group, right, EJ?
This is my safe zone.
Safe space. You're too old for a safe space.
I think I say it every time. Like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And kind of don't want to share it because, I like this group and I don't necessarily want to bring somebody in that I know good because, this is where, I can get and talk about a lot of this stuff.
You're right, though, man. It's like anything else. You find a good doctor and you recommend them. Now you can't get an appointment. I feel your pain. So, all right, John, I got to switch gears on to the next topic here.
Talk to me.
So,
Okay, bye. Have a good night.
oh wait, no, we want Amy to stay.
No, it's
Go
okay.
on.
Like I live this. Like I don't need to hear him talk about it. Man. Like, I'm good.
She said she's had enough of you. It's been what? How long? Like a week,
That's
and
not
she's already watched you out of the house.
That's actually not what I said. What I said was, I live this. I don't need to hear it again. That's what I said.
Understood, ma'am.
Her new title is Chief Operations Officer.
That's what I've always had that title.
I was gonna say, how's that any different than the rest of the years?
You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
She was chief long before I was.
And will
Logistics, John.
retire as
Stick
chief.
to logistics.
Yeah, for sure. Logistics is definitely an important task. So you keep muting yourself, Michelle. I can't hear you. Like
It's
she's
a defense
trying-
mechanism.
Anyway, Joe, I'm really thankful for this group too. I love Michelle's like the collaborative every month when we
See you
go.
later.
And
Gotta
to your
go.
point,
Stay
bye,
safe.
Be safe. To your point, like I don't want to share the collaborative with people around here because most of my friends are civilians. Like I don't want them on this thing because they just simply don't get it. And it's easier to compartmentalize some of our challenges by staying with my civilian friends because I don't have to worry about talking about it with them. And then I can call Michelle or I can get on this collaborative or I can talk to, another friend of mine whose husband's a chief and we can talk about that stuff. But like, I try to keep his planet and his reality from our world as much as I can because I just don't want to explain it to people. It's easier. Oh, look, we have a picture of Sean's phone.
I think we're going to go on the
Yeah.
run.
I think so.
I'm about to stop that. There's no telling what we'll find.
I don't know, but I hope you guys have a really good night and hi and hello, but it is sort of a chaotic night around the house and I have to go. So.
Well, thank you for lending him to us during your chaos.
Oh, no, it's fine. He's self-contained here. It's fine. I got it.
Self-contained chaos.
These sound so
Bye.
familiar.
See
Yeah.
ya.
Oh my God.
See ya. Bye.
Oh my God, that's great. Self-contained in your command post. It's like what they say about you in the buggy, right?
Solitude.
What's that? Vic?
Fortress of Solitude.
Fortress of Solitude. Yep, that's it. Jesus.
All right.
So go ahead, hit me with it.
So this is a discussion I've had with people young and tenured in the fire service, and this is kind of the journey you're heading down. So how do you stay relevant to the fire service once you're off the rig? Because there will come a point in time where the things you're teaching, the things you're doing, your things you experience, right, maybe don't apply anymore. And I'm not saying it's going to be immediately, but I think this is something we run into with a lot of the training and the fire academies and stuff is, that's where that whole, those who can't do teach comes from, which is complete bullshit. But I think it's a very relevant thing to ask because at some point, how can you be teaching people how to do this or that when you're not running the calls to validate it or tweak it and things like that? So, what are your thoughts on that? Or have you not thought about that at all?
No, I actually have. So it's interesting. So I do teach a little bit about command classes and stuff like that. And I'm still at the fire academy. So I'm still teaching at the academy. So I'm always going to be in the books to learn. I'm going back down to command officers boot camp again as a student in May at COBC. So I'll be there as a student learning from retired guys that are still on the job. And you're always going to be a student of the craft, whether I'm reading fire engineering or reading firehouse or fire rescue or whatever else, or watching videos and having discussions with Mike or EJ. I'm learning stuff every time I talk to EJ about suppression systems and building systems. I learned a ton of stuff from him. And I think that's how you keep relevant. I think Mike and his new podcast, they talked about it. You always got to continue to learn. You always got to continue to take classes, because when you stop learning, you stop, and that's it. Go ahead, Mike. Jump in. I can see you want to say something.
No, I'm just leaning in to listen. The question is a great one because I'm about 4 years ahead of you, And it's a real thing. It's not that you can't learn, it's that your experience, your real world experience that you relied upon becomes dated. And it's very difficult to, when you start talking about calls or something that you, a near miss or whatever it may be, you lose the capacity to translate whatever it is that you're learning into the street, so to speak. And it happens to all of us. I think what I was thinking about while you were talking and what you were saying was completely appropriate. You'll find that other things will take a priority in your day and in your life. And that will just happen normally. And not that it won't, not that the fire service won't still be there, or that you won't be able to have an impact on it. It just won't be the priority in a way that it is now. It just won't. I mean, the idea of the three-legged stool, I use that analogy where I'm working at the fire academy. I'm blessed and very, very fortunate to be in a situation where I am working with people that are coming into the fire service now, and helping people to achieve their academic goals, things like that, in my regular job. But not a day goes by that because we're right next to a firehouse, I hear them going out and I'm like, I'm not going. It's always going to be there. So, and the longer that you go, the greater the divide is.
Looking
And
forward to it.
So for me, if I want to jump back into it, potentially I join a volunteer department if I want, because we still have them up here in Jersey. And again, do I want it? I don't know.
He did it too.
Well, that's right. Before you grew this thing.
Yeah.
It lasted about, realistically,
Couple months, right?
maybe 3 months.
It's very different. Very different.
It is.
Yeah.
It
And
is.
again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. So I think it was 2 days before my last day. One of our local volunteers, we had a fire in our neighborhood, and Amy, I was in the shower and Amy calls me. She's like, hey, there's a fire down the street. I'm like, all right, well, the water pressure didn't drop, so they haven't hit the hydrant yet. So this is going to be pretty early. And I got out there and I actually beat the first due in. And the house was ripping, unfortunately. It was a complete loss. Nobody was inside. Thank God they were able to get out. But again, it's that adrenaline rush that we get. It may wane over time, but again, I get a rush, and probably like Mike and even EJ and Mark, I get a rush from teaching. I just taught this morning. I taught a 3-hour conference or a 3-hour seminar this morning on my command class, and to get the light bulbs to come on, the aha moments, where the students, and some of this one guy, he's a captain of a career department. And he came up to me, goes, I'm getting some awesome takeaways. I said, no, thank you. That means the world to me, that I'm giving something that you're able to take and utilize. And again, I don't have secrets or anything else, or, it's just stuff that I've used and stuff that I've studied for, that's worked in the real world, and share it. I gave out little stupid cards, and I don't know if anybody saw my Instagram the other day, but I talked about the initial radio report, building height, construction type, occupancy use, and what do you have? And then drop the mic, and go to work. That's, I printed those out. I gave them out. Those are little things that, for a newer firefighter coming into that, sitting in that right front seat, that's huge, because now you develop that muscle memory. So yes, I keep saying huge. So,
Well,
Thank you,
I bring it
Michelle.
up too, John, because I think it's not necessarily even a retirement thing as much as it is a time in the fire service thing. Because if you think about it, and I'm going to throw some probably pretty poor examples here that just what come to mind, but I look back to how reliant we used to be on map books. But I mean, what are the odds of us responding to a call where not only is the MDT or the tablet and every single person on the rig's cell phone down at the same time where nobody can use Google Maps. Like, it just, technology is so far ahead now, it doesn't happen. But guys like me, like, it took me years to get comfortable that, okay, we're not printing map books anymore. Like, what happened, or the guys that grew up on, throttle body pumps and were able to get under there when something went wrong and fix it. Now everything's computerized. You couldn't do it if you wanted to. So the experience is still relevant. The experience goes into understanding things on a bigger scale, but the applicability maybe isn't there. And that doesn't matter if you've been off the job for 5 years or on the job for 25 years. But I think for some reason, when people retire, it becomes a credibility thing to some people. And I would also say that a lot of the guys that I see out there teaching, that are no longer, on the job, they surround themselves with people that are. Right. So they are getting vetted through their cadres. They become more of a leadership role in the training side of things, and they're sharing experience or sharing knowledge, but they also say, oh, but go ask EJ, EJ, did you use this on your last run? Yeah, we sure did. Right. And now you just kind of have to learn to adapt, I guess. So
No, that was a point I was going to bring up. I think, staying relevant with what you're teaching is important, but also understanding and not being so cocky to understand when you're not becoming relevant that you need to do something, either, like you said, bring people in that are still on the job or have a different perspective, just the younger generation from a technology standpoint or whatever. I mean, look at guys like Steve Green. Steve's been out for how long now because of an injury? What he learned may not apply anymore, but he can still recognize relevant topics that he makes sure people are learning about and knowing about. And that in itself is huge, because that's just, that's bringing up other educators. So to me, that's just, if you can't do it, bring up somebody else that's got something that they have to offer, pull them up where they can be beneficial to everybody.
The nice part about my training company is I got a lot of guys that are on the job that with me that are on the job that I just retired from. And I have a couple guys that are on my volunteer department. My brother-in-law, obviously my father still teaches with me, which is awesome. He taught with us this morning. Him and I did our commanding the first 30 minutes class, the one that we do for Firehouse. And it's just a great thing to sit and teach. And I've learned so much from my father over the years, and because he rose up through the ranks in the volunteer side as the chief of department. So he's seen different things and had to deal with different things than I had to as a tour commander for a career department. So it's good by surrounding yourself with, again, like-minded people that are into the job and are still relevant with the job. When to step back and let them run with it. And again, that's a mentorship thing right, Mike? You give them the power to you introduce them and give them the opportunity to run with the ball.
Correct.
And support them. And that's our job as tour commanders, not to cut you off, but I think that's part of the job as a tour commander. I'm a giant resource guy, and I'm a safety officer, just watching what's going on, and a director to a certain extent. But I'm not telling these guys, and to quote from you guys, I'm not telling these guys how to stretch a line or how to take the window or how to cut the roof. I need this done. Let them get it done.
And I think that from a mentorship perspective, that's really why I'm moving in that direction formally, is because the people side of the house is not changing, right? The tactics and the tools and the buildings and the construction and all that stuff and the technology will change and continue to change, but the people side of it doesn't change. So finding out what you want to do, where you want your strengths to be. If you want to go out there and talk about technology, well, then you got to stay current. But if you want to take care of people, I mean, that's not that you don't have to stay current with emerging technology or philosophy or psychology, whatever. But caring about people is not a perishable skill, I don't believe. So really just wanting, I had 6 or 7 new graduates of the fire academy sitting in front of me the other day, and I just said, I was talking to them about resume building, and it meant a lot to me that, I wasn't telling them, about being a firefighter or strategy and tactics. It was about,
The professional development.
yeah, pulling their life experience and putting it on a piece of paper. And that's not something that people are getting from people around them. So I'm glad, I feel very fortunate that I'm in a position where I'm able to do that every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The other thing that comes to mind too, I think as we've all proven how cyclical, right, the fire service is that sometimes the value is for you to be able to sit there and say, people are arguing over VES, all this stupid crap. Like, well, 7 acronyms ago, you know what I mean? And 4 textbooks, this is what we used to learn. And here's how it's the same as what you're talking about, because there's always going to be that new thing, the new relevant, the new hot topic, right? But I think a lot of the time, the people that have experience or had a different experience than us that are able to ground us by reminding us like, hey, some things change, the tools change, the tactics change a little bit, the buildings change, but at the end of the day, the job's a job. It's been the same for forever. So I think sometimes just that grounding is probably some of the most valuable thing you can hear from somebody who's been there and done that before.
There's an old time radio show that's it's corny as hell, but I've listened to it at least 2 times now.
Have you heard this show?
But it's really cool, and it's like a giant. I don't know. It's like the 1930s radio version of Emergency 51. It was like introducing the country to the fire service, and it's funny because I started talking or listening to it, and and they're talking about using like exhaust points, and controlling the air so that you can breathe, or directing the fire. And I'm thinking it's everybody's talking about air track management, like it's this like hot new topic, and I'm like, they were talking about this in the 30s. That was SOP for them. It's like everything new is still old.
It's science, man. It's simple science. It always has been, and to
Low pressure to high pressure. Yep.
Yeah, but to Chief Alora's point, I mean, I would think that some of those, like he said, teaching people how to care about each other, unfortunately, is not being taught at home. It's not being taught at school. It's everybody for themselves mentality. It's dog eat dog, and that's where our cultures are struggling right now. Is just that like we're not a family anymore, and we are and we're not. Sometimes we're dysfunctional, sometimes we're not, but just teaching people how to talk to people, teaching people how to look out for one another, that hey, you might succeed, but that doesn't mean the team succeeds, and just intangible skills to help somebody along with their career that get left out because now that person is a threat to us. That whole bullshit thing we believe in, that, oh, we can't get John, further ahead of the game because what if he passes me in my career? Well, if he's better than me, then let him pass me. I don't really care. This is not that kind of a job, but I would argue a lot of that stuff, we would be better served in some of our academies to cut out some of this fluff that we have on the tactics and operations side and put in, getting along in the firehouse 101.
So I just want to touch base on that, Mark. One of my first meetings with my officers and my tour, when I first got assigned to my tour a couple of years ago, that was the word I used. I said, we're a family. We might be dysfunctional at times. We might fight at times, but we're a family. At the end of the day, we're going to come together and lean on each other. And that's probably one of the toughest things to realize for me, as I'm sort of leaving my second family. These are the guys I spent Thanksgivings with. These are the guys I had Christmas or, today, unfortunately, I went to a wake for one of my guys. His mother passed away. These are the things that we do. Last night, I was actually able to experience a great dinner with a bunch of guys, retired guys I haven't seen in years. It was great to sit around and talk. We had a 6:30 seating. We didn't even order appetizers till at least 7:30 because we were just all talking with each other. A good 8 to 10 of us that were there, and the camaraderie and the brotherhood and the stories. That's the fire service. Yes, we push down halls. We help people. We do this. We do that. We complain about the administration, but the brotherhood and the family aspect of it is what you get, is what you take away. I'm going to miss again, I'm going to miss being around the kitchen table. The firehouse kitchen table is the best place. Like Mike says, we can solve the world's problems. And we talk about it all the time too. But again, I'm going to miss that. I'm not going to miss the BS that comes along with it, but I'm going to miss the guys. One of the best things that I think I did after that fire that they had, I sent a mass text out to our old text group. I'm like, guys, great job. I listened to the fire. It was like I was just there. Nice job, strong work. And I got a couple thumbs up coming back and stuff. But I always told them, I said, I'm not leaving. I'm leaving the fire department. I'm not leaving the fire service. I'm not leaving you. I'm always going to be around. And again, not as a crutch or anything else, but as instructors, what do we tell? Hey, once you take my class, I become a resource for you. Reach out anytime. And that's the only thing I'm still doing. I'm just saying, hey, I'm a resource still. You can reach out to me anytime. And I think to your point, we're not teaching that. We're not teaching the emotional side of it, the mental health side of it in the academy, where that should be, where you're right. It's the dog eat dog world and everybody's out for themselves.
Yep. I personally think that's one of the big reasons people don't stay at a department for 30 years anymore. I really do. It's become a lot easier to kind of move around, I think, with, certs that transfer and all that. But I think you give people a reason to leave now and they'll do it. And that's probably another conversation.
If they're not happy, potentially,
Yeah.
or you're looking at the grass is greener, potentially. You never know if the grass is greener, or is it just spray paint?
Yeah.
It's also a generational thing, right? With instant gratification and the ability to find the pleasure in things in virtual spaces. And then you have to go out and you have to deal with all these things, right? And organizations and people, and you're not sitting behind like a PlayStation or, and it becomes very different. So I'm going to continue to search for it. So it'll be challenging, in the coming years to maintain stability in employees and cultures and stuff.
Yeah, that's, not to get too far off, but this is actually a great conversation for another episode. But, we talk about now too, how, you're trying to, quote unquote, play the game or whatever, but if you got people in your department playing by different sets of rules, how can you ever get on the same page? You got an old school mentality, you got a new school mentality, you got people that are there for a job, you got people that are just there because they're there, and how do you unite those people? And I don't think we've figured it out.
That's definitely a conversation for the fall of 2021.
Absolutely.
22, I mean,
we'll pen 2020. You going retro, right, John? You got the
Alzheimer's
Alzheimer's ready?
going back. Yeah. See?
All right.
Yeah, that's definitely a fall conversation. Maybe we talk about it in that December, winterish.
Yeah, that seems like a good one for a nice warm drink of coffee conversation.
Exactly. A little hot toddy.
That's right. So, all right, I'm gonna throw you the last topic of the night here, and then we got to wrap this thing up. So,
perfect.
You kind of started touching on it there with what you were just saying. But how do we keep our retirees involved? And I say that because the retirees that I know that I'm tight with, like you and Chief Alora, right? You're in the fire service still because you want to be, but not everybody that retires from the job wants to be in the fire service. Maybe they weren't really that involved in the fire service outside of their department to begin with, but they still go through all these same things you're going to go through. They still go through the guilt aspect, the fear aspect, the separation from their second family. And to me, I think we send people off with this grand send-off between retirements and funerals, and we say we'll never forget anybody and you're always part of the family, but then we don't do anything to bring them back. What better way to honor that than, hey, Chief, I know you're retiring, but we really like to see you for coffee, next tour or sometime this month. Like, I don't think we encourage people to come back enough personally. And I'm not talking about the annual retirees dinner where we all go out there and mope around because some guy that retired 30 years before we came on the job is going to tell us about steam fire engines in 2.5, right? I'm talking about a concerned effort to make sure that just because you hung up your bunker gear doesn't mean that you hung up your spot in the firehouse.
So I'm going to throw my chief kudos here. When he first became chief of the department, like it's 2007-ish, he started having a fall and a spring retirees breakfast. And he's done that throughout the years. With COVID, it sort of died off, obviously. But he's done that to keep the retirees together. There has been a younger set of retirees. So what the dinner that a couple of us had last night, we're going to try and do monthly. And I think that's what's going to happen, and reach out to keep in contact. Like, I haven't seen one guy in over 3 years, and one of the other retired deputy chief, I loved him. He was one of the best guys on the job, just he had a heart of gold, and you can talk to him about anything, and he'd give you that sage advice, and you knew he wasn't setting you up for failure. Like, Chief, this is what's going on. And hey, and he'd tell you straight out, listen, you got to do this. This is, and that's one of the best things that helped me always do the right thing. And I told my guys, and a couple texts to, they weren't cryptic, but I'm like, listen, never lose your integrity. That's the one thing you never want to lose in the fire service, is maintain your integrity. Don't do something that somebody's going to call you on, or change their judgment of you. Do the job the right way. And, but for retirees, you've got to keep your group together. One of the other battalions, he just retired in the end of January. So him and I live within 25 minutes of each other. And fortunately enough, we're good friends. Him and I got on the same volunteer department together, and his father was was a captain on the job that was retired when I got, before I got hired. So we're tight. We've always been that way, and our families are tight. So that helps out a lot. It's just keeping that family together and making sure we watch out for each other. Again, you said we never forget, but you've got to reach out to the people every once in a while. They actually created a retirees Facebook group for us, not for me, but they created one. And, so they post information on it. Again, garbage in, garbage out, but again, it's information. But it is what it is. And that's how, if you want to remain relevant, you remain relevant. If you want to hide, you can hide. There was a captain on the job when I got on. He was in charge of training, and he was extremely influential, and he's like a hermit. He does his own thing and doesn't come out. There's maybe one guy that talks to him. And I talked to the one battalion chief, and I'm like, hey, when you see him, tell him I said hello. Tell him I'm asking about him, because that was a guy that was influential in my career, and he did it. He was doing the job, and I learned a lot from him. And when you retire, you want to be known as what? We all want to be known as a good firefighter. He was a good guy. He was a good fireman, and that's what I want to be known as.
See, I'd like to take all that in the fire service as a whole one step further to. I don't want retirees by themselves things. I want retirees in the firehouse more. And I think that starts with people that were on your tour now that came up with you saying, hey man, why don't you come, like I said, come by next tour for a cup of coffee. And that way, when you're at these events that are scheduled, which are a great thing, don't get me wrong, because like you said, the guys that want to be left alone can be left alone and come by once a year. But I hate when you bring a guy that gave so much time in the job back to the firehouse and everybody's like, who the hell's that? Right. And there's only one guy left in the house. So if you're going back on a more regular basis, you catch some of the newer guys like, oh, who's that guy? Oh, that's John. He was a battalion chief here. Now, when the guy that you knew finally retires, the next guy down the line still recognize you. Right. And it becomes a cycle. So,
Yep. We've done that with a couple of our guys. We had this one guy, another captain who was in charge of communications. He's a plumber. So he pops in 4:00 in the afternoon. We'll throw another pot of coffee for him, because we do 3:00. We were doing 3:00 coffee, and then, and we throw on coffee and BS with him and just this chat. And the young guy's like, oh, who's that? At first it was like, oh, that's Captain McBride. He was in charge of communications. He did this, and this, a good guy, and they start asking questions. And that's the cool part, sitting back and just watching the interaction between some of the guys that have separated out maybe a good 8-10 years from the job, and how they're still relevant to the job. And you see the spark in his eye because he understands it's something cool to see. And hopefully I'm there someday.
Yeah, no. And I think on the flip side too, when we do hang it up, we have a responsibility to drop in once in a while. Like, you don't have to have an invite, right? You gave how much time to that department, you hung up your gear there, that the door should always be open for you, unless you're changing the door code and all those crazy security measures we have. But yeah, I think it works both ways. And like you said, though, if you're ready to hang it up and then you're done with that chapter in your life, then there should be no guilt or shame there. But if you want to go back to the firehouse once in a while, I don't think you should be derailed from doing so. All right, man. I think we've dragged along here. It's been a perfect retirement party of sorts. So leave us with some clothing. Clothing. I can't even talk now. Michelle's
Clothing.
making
What,
fun of
you
your
guys want
accent
merch?
so much
What do
I
you want,
can't talk
merch?
anymore. Your closing
Swag?
thoughts on your retirement, man. Any parting words? Anybody on the fence? Anybody who's like me and is just hoping that day never comes for them?
Well, again, I was fortunate enough that I brought time over with me. I started early. I was working as a dispatcher and as a fire inspector, and I was able to bring some time over with me. So that helped out with that. But again, when it's the right time. It's the job is the best job in the world, best profession in the world. It's just the right time for me and my family and my health to get it back to where I want it and need it. I'm going to miss my firefighters, my firehouse family, but they're always going to be my firehouse family. And when guys start retiring and stuff like that, you're going to just continue to increase that. Now you got the retired family, and then you've got your station family. But the best thing is always maintain your integrity. Remember you're a family, and family is going to have its ups and downs and fights, and you got to work through that stuff. Trust your officers, because your officers are going to be the ones that lead you. And again, nothing's done. No big feats are done without laying the groundwork and the foundation before that. With the foundation of the smaller jobs, the training, the trust. Trust comes with being there and doing it and having them watch you do it with them. So just be there.
Very good. Well, again, congrats from all of us.
Thank you.
And your peanut gallery of celebratory. It was so sad. It was so sad. The legend has retired, as they say. So I think this was cool, man. I'm glad we got to have a kind of a roundabout talk about retirement. I think it was fitting.
Yeah, it's perfectly fitting. Thank you, Michelle. Anticlimactic legend hats and
That's so climactic. I feel underappreciated, John.
Some once festive party poppers.
All right.
I'm surprised they're not doing the blue or the pink boom, boom, the big
We have more surprises up our sleeve.
Oh yeah, you better get the mail
I
checked
gotta
by
watch
the
the mail.
hazmat team.
I gotta watch the mail.
All right, so closing real quick, John and I talked earlier. Hopefully, we'll be more of a regular monthly thing here moving forward. We're going to kind of change the direction just a little bit. We're going to look at topics monthly versus people, and hopefully, we can find some guests that fit into those topics. But if not, we want to encourage the conversation. We want to grow the audience, the feedback. I think we've got enough knowledge and talent between the four of us that are behind this thing and all the amazing people that come back monthly with us. So that's going to be the vibe going forward. So look for this to be more regular. If you haven't already liked it, like the Unlock Your Culture webcast on both YouTube and on Facebook. We'll be doing better about sending out reminders of the episodes more than 5 minutes prior. So look for those reminders probably about a week out and then probably earlier in the day of. So having said that, thank you for everybody who's joined us live, everybody who's going to listen to us record it. And again, congratulations to John on a career well done and a future on the other side of the teaching circuit. So everybody have a good night.